welcome back to the Illinois Wrestler Podcast. I'm joined by Brian Swaw, as always, and tonight we're joined by Daryl Thomas. Now, Daryl is currently the associate head wrestling coach at Southern Illinois, Edwardsville. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep, and he was also a former teammate of mine at the University of Illinois. He's been coaching since he got out of college wrestling. I'm going to dive into a bunch of that, but Daryl, welcome to the show.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. It's good to get on to an Illinois podcast. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, Brian and I have really wanted to bring on some of the Illinois natives, people who are involved in college wrestling, and whether they're athletes or coaches, and kind of just it's so quick and so easy to be forgotten, I guess, and I think it's important for us to kind of let people know who everyone is. And then obviously for you, I mean, you're down coaching at a Division I school in the state of Illinois, and people need to know who you are so they can get a hold of you when they have athletes looking for a place to go wrestle in college.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate the platform to be able to do that, and I'm looking forward to talking with you guys about SIUE and all things wrestling.
I mean, Daryl, you did the trifecta. You wrestle at U of I, coach at Northern, and coach at Southern. I think you have all the D1 schools in Illinois covered, right? So, I mean, we got a lot to talk about, but, you cut your teeth at Edwardsville High School. And I believe your wrestling coach was Kevin Mattarelli.
Mattarelli was one of my coaches, yep.
Yeah, so Kevin Mattarelli was my little brother at Monmouth College in the Teak fraternity, right? So I always have ties. It's like, Dalton and I always have these conversations. Illinois wrestling is the largest fraternity in the United States. Wherever you go, you find someone. So, first of all, before we get into everything, just thank you for what you have done in the state of wrestling for Illinois, not only as a wrestler, but at all the schools that we talked about. And now you found a home back at home in Edwardsville at SIUE. And, talking about how it meant to wrestle in Edwardsville. And then, finally make your way back there. You had to stop at Old Dominion in between. But as Dalton said, former teammate, had been stuck with wrestling and coaching ever since.
Yeah, it's been a journey, to say the least. And, just thankful for all my opportunities that I've had to be able to coach at the Division I level this long. And, I would say, I guess you're doing something right to have opportunities to stay in it, for the last 10, 12 years, I guess it's been now. So it's been fun. It's been a great journey. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. Just trying to stay in it and continue to impact lives along the way. But yeah, going from coaching or from wrestling at Edwardsville and then to have it all be full circle and come back and coach at the Division I level here. We've got a great RTC situation going on now with the Southern Illinois Regional Training Center that allows us to impact not only our athletes, but athletes in this area and try to continue to grow Southern Illinois wrestling all around. So the ecosystem is really in a great place here in this area. And we'll just try to continue to grow it and impact all the athletes in this region.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned that RTC and growing the ecosystem, we've had conversations about how important it is to have the local wrestling economy, right? For dual meet attendance, it's hard. We can be fans from up north, but we might not necessarily be able to get down and support you on the ground. But so how has who runs the RTC? How does that go for you guys?
Yeah, so Coach Bates and he kind of – so SIUE had like their own RTC, and then Edwardsville kind of had what was called like Quest. So it was like kind of like – it was ran out of the Edwardsville John Davis Wrestling Center by Pat McNamara. He was actually one of my coaches in high school as well. He came like I think my junior year, and he had a huge impact on me and helping me make a jump as a wrestler. But he ran that Quest Wrestling Club, and then eventually they came together and formed the Southern Illinois Regional Training Center rather than trying to, water down, I guess, the opportunities for kids to just come together as one and try to create a good system. It was right around the time RTC started to become big. And so from there, we have a board, Jake McKiernan. We were able to raise money and keep him around. He's now the head coach of the RTC, so he kind of handles a lot of the day-to-day different things, and managing tournaments, helping practice schedules, all that good stuff, because we have two different practices. So we have a gold practice, which is our college athletes and anybody that qualifies, and then you have an elite practice, which is like high school kids that don't qualify, and then there's a beginner group that maybe just beginners getting into freestyle and Greco. So there's kind of three different tiers. But yeah, that's kind of how it all came together, and it's been great. We just had a tournament Saturday. It was the spring SmackDown, and we had 600 kids at the tournament. So it's been good, continuing to grow it and continue to raise money to build it out more, and maybe eventually here pretty soon have a guy or two training in the RTC.
You guys had some success last year. One of your young guys, bigger guy, Nick Nosler at U20s, right?
Yeah.
You had great success in Vegas, went out to the qualifier, and so you guys are doing great things. As we talk about the RTC and growing it from the ground up and getting kids involved, I look through your roster and you have a lot of homegrown kids, which is really hits home for Dalton and I, and our vision of what we want to do with the Illinois Wrestler College podcast is reach out to high school wrestlers that made their mark in Illinois wrestling and continued on to wrestling. And this is like the double, right? Wrestled in Illinois and still wrestled in Illinois. So, what's your thought process, and how aggressive are you guys recruiting in the state of Illinois? Is there ever too many Illinois wrestlers on the roster?
Never too many at all. For us, it starts at home, right? It starts at home, and us being so close to Missouri as well, we're a half hour over the border. So it all starts in Illinois, and then from there, we kind of branch out, and we call Missouri a home state as well, so kind of a double whammy. And then we have a pretty cool setup here at SIUE where all 50 states are in-state tuition, so we can really go wherever we need to pull kids in. But going back to your original question, being able to keep kids here in the state of Illinois, that makes sense, right? We want to win. We want to win at a high level too. And so kids that make sense and want to be here, ultimately, it is what we want to be here. So it'll always start at home. We'll always try to get the best possible kid that makes sense for us, and have a couple guys at each need that we'll go after. And then if it's not successful, then we'll branch off to the next thing. And hopefully maybe one day they come back home.
That's pretty cool. So expand a little bit on that. So all 50 states are in-state tuition, or so you guys only have one set tuition? Yeah. Interesting.
Well, it's a public school, so yeah, it's a public school. But yeah, they a few years ago they went to just one set tuition, and there is no in-state, out-of-state. It's just one set tuition price, and so really everybody's in-state. So it gives us a whole country to recruit to, where other schools it may be tough to go get an out-of-state kid, where it might cost double the price.
Yeah.
Or you go to University of Illinois, where they have the highest in-state tuition of any state university in the 50 states.
Yeah. 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 Let's not get there. Let's not go there.
Trust me, I know that firsthand.
Yeah, I do as well. I think,
Yeah, we all do, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is a super interesting thing to have one tuition. That's a positive thing to go out and have the ability, especially seeing how you guys are really close to Missouri. Are any of the states south of that, are they becoming more of a recruiting factor?
Yeah, I mean, we've got good ties to a little bit. We've got good ties to Kentucky, with obviously Union County. Robert Irvin wrestled here, and so having some ties there. We've had several Union County guys on the team before. But yeah, really, I mean, Georgia's getting really good, and they've been good for a while now. So it just opens it up to where we really don't have any restrictions outside of budget, and want to be flying a bunch of kids in and things like that. But kids that make sense, that we have ties to and connections to and relationships with, there's really no hindrance in going after them.
Yeah. And so, Daryl, how many years have you been at SIUE?
I got here in November of 21, so it was really late. And so then, what was it, 24 years? This is my fourth season.
Okay.
Really third year.
And one thing that I'm pretty impressed with SIUE is that your guys' wrestling like facility, right? Like you guys actually have a really nice wrestling room. I believe 3 mats. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how is that wrestling room compared to all the other schools that you've been to?
I would say, yeah, no other school I've been to, well, besides Campbell, had 3 mats. So, yeah, no, I give a lot of credit to Coach Spates and the alumni and donors. It wasn't always that way. I grew up here, and so it used to be 2 mats. You walk into the room and you're on the mat. And there used to be, the weight room was not, it was like on the backside of the wrestling room, the athletic weight room. It was just a really tough situation, tough to sell. And so he did a great job of raising funds and galvanizing the alumni and donor base. And I think it ended up being around a $500,000 renovation. So now we have 3 full mats. We've got cardio space, weight space, basically have another weight room in there. We've got a lounge space for our athletes with TVs. And so it's really something that has really helped us elevate our recruiting and just really not take us out of the picture from that aspect with certain kids.
I mean, you brought up a really great point too, and I overlooked, how close you are to Missouri because, over the last 5 to 10 years, I mean, Missouri has really become, one of the top 10 states, right, in wrestling. Some of their kids and some of their guys end up going out to Oklahoma State, or Missouri. But I can see, that's a really good base for you guys is Missouri, and you have a couple guys on your team that had a lot of success in Missouri.
Yeah. We've got several guys, so I don't want to leave anybody out, but Brock Woodcock was a 3-time state champ in Missouri. I think he was 1 match away from placing a Super 32 in high school, and he's started a couple years for us. So Porter Matecki's a freshman. He was a true freshman this year. Actually went 10-0 this year as a red shirt, won a couple tournaments. He's going to be a really good one. 4-time state champ in Missouri. Braxton Strick was a couple-time state champ in Missouri. Got a freshman heavyweight, Jake Fernandez, was a couple-time state champ in Missouri. So, yeah, like I said, again, the kids that make sense there that, and a lot of the tough kids, there's so much good wrestling within an hour or 2 hours of us that it makes it real easy to recruit those kids.
Yeah. When it comes to recruiting and stuff, there's a lot of changes that are kind of happening right now. Specifically one top of mind is the roster limit. So are you guys kind of addressing that? Like, how do you address that? Do you guys have more than 30 on your roster?
So it's kind of been a blessing in disguise. Initially, you would think it was a hindrance, but when I first got here, we only had 26 roster spots. So we've been operating under a cap already. Then it was grown up to 28 in the last couple of years. And so with us going to 30 now, it's kind of like we're gaining a couple spots. But in the midst of having that restriction in the 26 or 28, my initial thought to Jeremy, Coach Bates, was, hey, this is not enough to be successful. Like it's not enough to have the right competition or the right depth in the room. And so we started utilizing the RTC model and having guys be able to come in through the RTC where they wouldn't count against your roster the first semester, but you could add them second semester. So it gave us kind of a little bit of a safety blanket. If someone got hurt, you could, you had a guy that you knew was coming onto the roster second semester, you'd be able to plug them in. And it's been good. We've had guys that it's not just like, let's go get anybody. It's guys that were specifically recruited for that. I'll say Eric Almarinez from California. He was recruited by some other Division I schools, and he came in through the RTC, wrestled through the RTC that first year, and then became a starter and took fourth at the MAC championships for us as a redshirt freshman. Dominic Lopez, his brother Marcel, is our 133-pounder, but he came in through our RTC program and then ended up starting the second semester of his freshman year once we were able to add him and placed at the conference tournament. He ended up redshirting this past year, but he'll be in the mix, competing for the job at 74 next year. So we've had guys come in and go through that and sacrifice, and just some of it's just a matter of timing and when we found them, and then be able to add them later and they make an impact for us. So just trying to find every avenue to continue to build the program.
So is that roster limitation set by the school?
It's going to be set by the NCAA here in a couple of days, I would think, when this House settlement passes. So, our school has decided to opt in. So if you opt into you opt into the revenue share, then you have to abide by those roster caps and those roster limits.
So there's a lot. The reason why I asked you that is, one, I wanted to know if you guys are opting into the revenue share, and because I spent a lot of time trying to familiarize myself with this. But I've been told that not every team is going to have a max 30 roster cap, right? Mm-hmm. That some teams might be below that, such as Northwestern. There's rumors that some Big Ten schools might only be 26. Mm-hmm. So, you guys being at 30 puts you at the top of it. So that's why I asked the question.
Yeah. So we'll be at 30 as of right now, what we've heard, and like I said, it's been a blessing in disguise to have to operate under that cap, and then now all this comes about, and you're like, oh, this is great for us.
Yeah,
it brought a flurry of activity through the transfer portal to try to get done yesterday, because for people out there that aren't aware of it, basically yesterday was D-Day for unlimited NIL contracts without having to disclose dollar amounts or anything. If that settlement passes, and it sounds like it's going to, all of the NILs will have to go through clearinghouse. Yeah. And the clearinghouse will determine if that value is correct or not. Yep. And I it's kind of gray area, and don't want to get sidetracked, but I mean, I don't know how they can say that an athlete isn't worth X without trying to get sued, but that's a different topic. But the flurry of activity is interesting, right? And I don't want to jump ahead, but I know I want to talk to you about transfer portal and kind of where you guys sit. But Dalton, you stick on the topic here, and then we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, just with so much changes that happen with, college wrestling and stuff, like you've been in a lot of positions where things have been transitory, right? So obviously you spent time at Old Dominion, they closed the program, you go to, Campbell, yeah. And you leave Campbell, but they're in kind of a weird position because they're dropping scholarships and stuff like that. So I don't even know what kind of happened. So how have you kind of learned to kind of be a coach in this type of environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is a great question. I think having so many experiences. So I've coached high school immediately after for 1 year, and then went to NIU for 2 years as a volunteer assistant, and then a year as a head coach at a junior college that was going to NAIA before going to Old Dominion. So being the associate head coach. So I've been kind of low man on the staff, right? I've been at the high school level. I've been at the JUCO level, running the show and understanding what that all entails in terms of everything you have to do to have a successful program on all fronts. And then the biggest, I would say, is the Old Dominion situation, because I felt like we were in such a great place as a program. And when we got that call, or I got that call from Coach Martin, that he was on the phone with the AD, and he basically made him tell me, because they brought him in and told him that it was right after the NCAA tournament during COVID. And when I got that call, it kind of changed a lot for me, because my wife was she was 6 months pregnant at the time, and I was at the grocery store and got a call, and Steve's like, "Hey, I'm here with Wood on the phone," and Wood's like, "Hey, we want to thank you for everything you've done. We're going to be discontinuing the program due to COVID shortfalls and all these things." And I literally just sat in my car for a minute, because I felt like we were in such a great place, and knowing that I had to go home and tell my wife this, 6 months pregnant, and then so tell her that, and you have some waterworks and tears and things like that, and like, what's next? Then it was immediately, what's next? Crazy. Nobody's moving around in COVID, so the only job in the country open was Campbell, because Colat had just left and went to Navy, and Sintez took over. So just got very lucky, and was thankful for an opportunity to work with Scotty Sintez down there, and we had a great year, and under some crazy circumstances and COVID, and when you go through so many things like that, I think it just prepares you to just control what you can, like we always say, and being a wrestler in general, all the things that you learn as a wrestler, I think you just roll with the punches and control what you can control. And when one roadblock appears, you figure out a way to navigate it and move forward.
I don't believe in luck, Daryl. I don't. I live by this crazy thing called timing, and things happen, and they happen, and you're in a place where it happens, and it's meant to be. And all them things you just described is being a wrestler, and all of the agony of defeats and the success prepared you for those moments. But all that led to you getting back home. All that led to you with that Cougars hat back on, where you're supposed to be, right? I mean, seriously, I'm listening to this story, and for the people that are going to turn into this podcast, I mean, that's what life's about. That's what life's about, is putting yourself in situations and keep moving forward. And I'll say this with all three wrestlers, that's what wrestlers do. They're prepared for those moments, but it wasn't luck, Daryl. It was timing. It was determination. And Southern Illinois and Coach Batts, that's exactly where Daryl Thomas is supposed to be. So with that being said, right, that's kind of like my Jerry Maguire interview moment, right? Like, hey, come on, right? Tell people what makes SIUE such a special place, and why kids in Illinois should go there.
Yeah. I think it's a hidden gem, to be honest with you. I don't, in the past, I don't think the institution as a whole had been marketed very well, and just nobody knows about it. And it had been a commuter school for a long, long time. But to me, SIUE is situated in a great place. First, you're in a great community in Edwardsville. It's a great place to live. Not too big, not too small. Beautiful campus with a ton of scenery and outdoor fields, and it's just really pretty right now in the spring and fall when everything's changing colors. And then we have great facilities, we have great education. Depending on what you want to major in, you got a business program that the accreditations that our business school has, only 5% of schools in the country have it. We've got a great engineering program that's really robust with 9 or 10 different specializations in a beautiful engineering facility. We got a ton of people that go through exercise science and some of our medical science stuff. So some of the main degrees that people will want to get, you'll get a really good degree. And not to mention being a half hour from downtown St. Louis, where if you like the feel of having a city and things to do, like going to a St. Louis Cardinals game, going to a St. Louis Blues game, those type of things, then you have access to that pretty close by. The airport's a half hour away. So really just all the boxes to me are kind of checked. And there's really, once people get on campus, they're pleasantly surprised. And we usually get that every single time.
Yeah. And not to forget, you guys have, a lot of high level experience in the coaching realm, right? So Jeremy Spates is a longtime assistant coach at Cornell, right? I don't know how many years he spent there, but obviously his father was a very successful coach, and so, and then you got Kagan Calkins, who I know Kagan really well, wrestled at Oregon State, so you got a lot of young, a lot of hungry coaches, and I don't know the other coaches. You'd have to give me Jake and Austin, where they're from, and where they're from.
Austin Murphy, he wrestled at Campbell, and I was lucky enough to coach him for 1 year while I was there at Campbell. He made the blood round that year, and then he ended up being a 2-time national qualifier, 2-time SoCon champ from Ohio. Got 2 of his brothers now will be on the roster next year. And then Jake McKiernan, he actually wrestled here for Spates back in the day. He was ranked in the top 25. I don't think qualified, but he's done a great job with some of our upper weights, and he got to coach his brother to a MAC title his first year here, and his brother Colton McKiernan, who ended up being in the blood round that year as well. So just a great group of coaches. We've been lucky to have 5 coaches now on staff in some capacity. When Spates first got here, I think it was him and a GA. And so to be able to fast forward to now where we have 5 coaches on staff able to impact these guys in all areas of their life and on the mat is pretty special. And so we've been a young team for the last couple of years, and next year we finally hit that point where we go from being like 75% underclassmen to like 80% upperclassmen. So I think we're in a place where we've kind of been building towards for the last 2-3 years. And, excited to see what these guys can do. I think they're ready, but they got to make that decision.
One of the things that people don't know about SIUE is, and I'm going to date myself because I'm much older than both of you, right? SIUE was a Division II powerhouse.
Yep.
I think 3 national titles under Larry Kristoff. I believe both of his sons were national champs there, Kip and Mark. And then there was a gentleman that was a Chicago boy that was really good from up this area, Tim Wright. But they were a Division II powerhouse before going to Division I. I mean, they were a power to be reckoned with down there. And I think that all changed maybe in the late 90s, early 2000s. Is that correct?
Yeah. It kind of went the other way after Coach Kristoff for a while. And crazy, we keep seeing stats pop up where like we had 6 wins, I think, last year, and it was like the first time in like 20 years where, or not 20 years, it was like first time in like 20 years where they didn't have a losing record. And then this year we get 7 wins. It was like the first time for 7 years and 7 wins in like 30 years. So it's cool to see those things. Obviously not the goal, but you got to kind of, relish and address those things when they come about and keep moving forward again. But that the history, the tradition is there. We sell that in the recruiting process too. Like it's been done here before, it can be done again. And it's been a process to get the depth and get the pieces all in place. But now we're there, and really no more excuses. Now it's just time to do it.
Well, what you said some of those things aren't the goal. So what are the goals? What is the vision? What is the culture? What are you guys trying to do down there?
I mean, accolades and those things are important. Having goals, I think it's a program, based on all the things that we talked about before. Our location, we're in Illinois. We have access to Illinois. We have access to the whole country. And then the resources are in a place where they weren't when Coach Spates first got here. So to be able to have, like, again, the coaching staff, the facilities, the ability to pay coaches now, the RTC in place, having all those things, I don't see any reason why we can't be competing for MAC championships and putting guys on the podium year in and year out. And, and then over time, trying to be a top 15, top 20 program year in and year out, I think is kind of the goal right now. And then when we get to that point, then we can reassess and see what we need to do if it's attainable to make another jump forward.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Brian.
No, I mean, you guys, listen, it's a work in progress, right? And I think this is an important, lead into kind of what we're leading to is like, okay, so, you guys are a MAC team. And so that has to be your first competition, be at the top of that MAC conference. And that's definitely doable for SIUE. And then from there, you build on to national qualifiers and then, try to get your All-Americans. And it only takes 1 or 2 guys to change the whole outlook of a program. So I think you guys are doing the right thing. You're not taking a huge bite at the apple. You're doing it the right way. And the reason why I say that is, with transfer portal and all these dollars and stuff's been thrown out there, that's just not your model, right, Daryl? Your model is to do it homegrown. You guys are doing it right. So, give me your thought process. I kind of jumped all over the place, but give me your thought process on that. And as well as what's going on with the state of wrestling with transfer portal and what effects it has on you or even recruiting.
Yeah, no, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, we want to do it through high school. We want to develop those guys. And then, if they have opportunities to look at other places, hopefully by that time we've got our funds in order to be able to keep them and retain them. We'd rather do it that way and retain guys than go out and poach guys. Now we have to use the portal to fill things here and there. We'll do that, but it won't be in like a full sell form where we're bringing in 3, 4, 5 guys in a whole lineup. It's not even feasible for us to do that. I think with some of the bigger programs kind of focusing that way, it allows us to maybe go and be more attractive to a higher end high school kid that maybe in the past maybe wouldn't necessarily give us the time of day, but now they have to. Now they have to, because the focus for the bigger schools is going to be transfer portal heavy for right now. So
yeah. Again, before you go any further with that, this is one of the great parts of the conversation that we get to have now. But I have been a big proponent of what's happening with the transfer, and a lot of people transfer portal stuff, and a lot of people are under the impression that it's only hurting smaller programs. And what you mentioned is something a little bit different, right? So again, the recruiting landscape is shifting because of transfer portals as well. So it gives you access to some of these recruits that might not be getting the same type of scholarship offers that they were getting just a couple of years ago. Now they have to change that approach and really look out different places to get it. And one thing that you said, and I'm so grateful that you said it, because now I don't have to be thinking that you're not doing it, but you said you guys hope that you have your things in order so that you can retain them. And that's one of the things that I love hearing a coach say. If a coach is out there working for their athletes, man, I respect them so much more, because I think it is the job of a coach to make sure that they can give them the best opportunity. And if that means that they have to compete with another school for those type of NIL opportunities and stuff, then I think you got to get in the trenches and get your own resources in order so that you can keep those guys. So I am very happy to hear you say that. So
no, it's a big piece. I mean, it's just being realistic, understanding what we are, where we are, and who we are, and trying to just lean into that a little bit more. I mean, just understand that, and we'd rather do it that way anyway, from a culture standpoint and things like that. Otherwise, kind of change over the culture year over year, and it gets hard to get it back. Once you lose it, it's gone forever, pretty much.
Dalton and I have had some off the air conversations and some heated text, right, back and forth, all in good nature, about what we're saying here, is because I believe too it's changing the landscape for mid-major schools, because at some point there's going to be recruits that say, hey, man, I don't want to go there and get portaled over, right? I don't want to go there and not have the opportunity to be the guy, or 2 years maybe I'm not the guy. Now, that isn't in full force yet, but it's starting to trickle down a little bit. And I think you'll see some of that. I want to backtrack. So you guys are going to opt into the revenue share. So you have 30 roster spots, but then you're also going to participate in NIL by school as well. Like the school will be able to participate, the $22.5 million. I'm not saying you're going to have that or whatever you're going to have, but you have up to $22.5 million to give to athletes at the university.
Yeah. So they'll have the opportunity to do that. And I think a lot of it's still in the works in terms of, what the administration is going to be able to raise and how much is going to go to basketball. What's nice is we don't have football, so that takes away a huge chunk. That may
that's another advantage but also not an income stream. So that's
right. True. So it's catch-22. But yeah, no, we don't have football. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's all a work in progress. We got a great athletic director. And Andrew Gavin, he came in 2 years ago and really elevated the athletic departments. He's done some great things, him and his staff, and just looking forward to see what they can do and what they can continue to do with SIUE. It's been crazy transformation from not only an aesthetic piece, but from social media and growth of the institution. Our basketball team made the tournament for the first time ever this year. So that was huge. Just getting eyes on the university and people getting to know what SIUE is. So, yeah, I don't know what that number is going to be. We don't have any of those conversations, and quite frankly, we'll roll with the punches when we find out and keep moving forward.
Are you guys having meetings consistently about the progress of these types of the lawsuit and everything?
I think he operates a little bit differently. So he operates as, when I have something that's beneficial for everybody to know, everybody will know. So he's kept us abreast, throughout. But I mean, we know what we know. Everybody's kind of in limbo anyway. So yeah, it's not much we can really know outside of what the facts are.
Yeah.
I guess to not, to dive into that too much, but my question would be to Dalton's are you guys sitting around as wrestling? Because the landscape's changed since you got into it, right? You had to go in and coach and recruit. Now you got to go and coach, recruit, raise money, and then, kind of be like a contract negotiator almost in some cases. So do you, as you're sitting around with the coaching staff, do you guys have conversations about, hey, NIL is crazy. What are we going to be able to do? How are we going to be able to do it? I'm not asking you to divulge all the secret sauces at SIUE, but you guys have to be sitting around talking about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we got to figure out how we can do it on our own scale, and it's different everywhere. Just what can we do that's going to be attractive for our athletes to be able to keep them here? Maybe it's not all financial. Maybe it's in the form of employment opportunities and things like that, and connecting them with businesses and doing it the right, the true NIL way. Maybe it's not all just here you go, here's your pay for play, things like that. But yeah, we're definitely having those conversations and really, like I said, it just all comes down to finding ways to retain guys, whatever that number is. I think the next step for us is getting a wrestling specific collective together. Once we know more, like, okay, fair market value, what is fair market value for what type of kids, then we'll know exactly what numbers we kind of have to raise to be able to have a functional collective that makes sense to be able to keep a guy or two every year that may be able to look elsewhere if not. So yeah, it's all in the works, and just having its early infancy stages and having conversation and throwing ideas out there and things like that. All things I enjoy it. I enjoy all the changes, and I want to try to stay on the front end of it rather than be reactive. So there's definitely ideas in place.
Yeah, that's good. Well, switching gears, Brian, unless Brian has any more hot topics to discuss, when it comes to coaching, what's your favorite thing about coaching?
Man, I would say a couple of things. I would say being able to recruit a kid, see them go through their career, and see what they accomplish at the end, what they come in at and what they leave at, not only from a wrestling standpoint, but from a person standpoint. And then just seeing the growth, being in the trenches with these guys, being hands-on a lot, seeing them grow from week to week, from match to match, make adjustments. It's cool because eventually you see when guys make that switch and that switch flips, and they never look back. It's pretty cool to see that moment and watch them be able to take it and run now. And you not have to be like, hey, no, put your left hand here, put your right hand here, put your left hand. You tell them that 15 times, for 2 years, and then they finally something clicks and they have it all figured out now. But for you as a coach, it's been 2 years of just grinding and headaches and late nights of just like, why can't you figure this out? Trying to figure out different ways to communicate with guys, to get them to understand what you're trying to convey to them, and get them to understand it so now they can take it and make it their own. Just all those things. Those are the fun things for me. We really heavily focus on the process, and it's so cliche, but we put it on our shirts. We put it on our shirts, on our sweatshirts, and we break it down, process on 3, 1, 2, 3 process. Because, I keep going back to when I first came because just that's all I can go off of, what we were when I first got here. And we couldn't go from where we were to where we're trying to go by skipping any steps. And it had to go through the process. Like, what does winning look like? Okay, how do you win a wrestling match? Literally break it down to the ground roots. How do you win a wrestling match? Like, how important we put up a board in our room, a leaderboard in our room, and we added riding time point to it. This is before the rule change of the 3-point takedown. We put riding time point up there because at the end of that year, we had 3 national qualifiers. All 3 guys led our team in wins, and they also led our team in riding time points. So it was a direct correlation to winning. If you had a riding time point, you probably won the match, or you won a lot of matches, because unfortunately, you're not going to take everybody down. And some guys are going to be really hard to score on. There's going to be some tight matches, and you're going to have to find another way to win. So just having those guys understand, like, what does winning look like? How do we go from where we're at to where we're trying to go? And you have to, lay out what that process looks like and stick to it every day and focus on that versus the outcome of winning and losing.
Speaking of that, when did you know you really wanted to be a coach, and who encouraged you to do this? Right, because you haven't stopped since you got out of college.
I think my high school coach just had a really big impact on me. All my coaches have had a big impact on me, but Coach John Wagner.
Kevin Mattarelli wanted me to ask that question, so it was a loaded question, Daryl, to see if you would mention his name.
All my coaches had a huge impact on me, man. I've had a lot of people impact my life as a youth. I mean, I didn't start till 8th grade, but as a youth, as a high school kid, so many people impacted my life and helping me get to where I'm at. And then Coach Wagner specifically, he just really took me under his wing. His family did, just helping me learn the sport of wrestling, understand how to win. Like, he just had my best interest, on and off the mat. And so I think just having him be that person for me, when I got done, it was like, that's what I'm gonna do too. I'm gonna impact somebody else that way. So really nobody said you need to be a coach or anything like that. I think it was just like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go impact lives and see where it can go for me.
Yeah, that's how it happens. Yeah, it's hard to get out too, right? It's hard to get out of the game if you like wrestling so much.
Just keep pulling you back in, man. Sounds like a mafia movie, right? Every time he tried to get out, Dalton's been trying to get out. He can't get out either. I see videos of him on YouTube with his knee pads on from U of I. I see it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can ever stop wrestling itself. Maybe, yeah. I mean, even when my body doesn't work or it's beaten, broken or something like that, I still find my way to wrestle. Now all those old guys, now they make sense. Now it makes sense to remember those old guys still wrestling way too long. But
well, it's your only form of exercise. Like, I don't lift any weights. I'm not running a step. So my exercise is wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure for me. I think I do other things to be active and stuff. I think it's just it's something that I think that you understand after getting to a certain point, but wrestling is so tough on the way, right? So it's the process of getting to a very high level of understanding is very difficult. It's loaded with ups and downs of emotions, with never thinking you can, or you're, whatever roadblocks. Once you get to a certain point where you kind of recognize the process of wrestling and how it works, then it feels so good. It's so meditative, and I think I have a hard time not wrestling because it's, from a coaching standpoint, once you put somebody in a position that they've never been in before and they start to realize, like, oh, this is okay. How did this happen? And then it's like you start to really appreciate the meditative aspect of wrestling itself, and then obviously the coaching aspect of making people have those moments of clarity around something that you've been doing for your whole life. So
definitely.
Yeah, Brian, you got anything else for Daryl? I want to ask Daryl before you think about your next question, Brian. But Daryl, what do you think about the state of Illinois wrestling in general? I think the high school, we saw that at the NCAA tournament, they tied for the most All-Americans. We had 2 Division I national champions with a third in the finals. Yeah, what do you think about the state of Illinois right now?
Yeah, I think it's in a great place right now. I thought maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I thought it might have been dipping a little bit. I hate to say that, but I thought it might have been dipping just in terms of the depth. Like, I remember some of it's 3 classes. I don't know, but I just remember some of my brackets were ridiculous. I can't even fathom. Like, it was like John Morrison, BJ Futrell, Ramos, like Ellis Coleman. Like, it was Chris Dardanes, Nick Dardanes. They were ridiculous. And And then, I thought it dipped a little bit maybe in terms of the depth. Now I think it's back in a really good place. Like, I think you can see where there's some third and fourth place guys that are pretty dang talented, that it's like, hey, these guys can go do it at the next level, at the Division I level. So it's pretty cool to see it where it's at now. And it's always been a powerful state. I don't know why the dip happened for whatever reason, but it's back in a really good place now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct. There was definitely a dip, right? Because there was this stigma about, hey, Illinois is this great state of wrestling, wins Fargo, and all these guys going to college, but they can't get on the podium in the NCAA tournament. And then this kind of was like the breakthrough, because that was being talked about in a lot of circles for about 4 or 5 years. So I think you're right. It was dipped, and now it's getting back to where it needs to be and where it should be. And I think it's only going to get better. I mean, they're a talent level that's coming up. It was a little down this year, I would say, from a senior standpoint, but with the exception of a handful of kids. But man, that class that's coming up in a year or two, I mean, that's a really strong class, and I think Illinois wrestling as a whole is here to stay, especially in the national scene, which is great to see. But one last thing I want to touch on with you, Daryl, is just from a standpoint of, listen, you're competing against, University of Illinois for kids. And, I think SIUE is a great place to be. And, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but from a coaching standpoint, what do you look for in these kids that attract you to say, hey, that's a guy I want on an SUE, Edwardsville singlet, and I know we'll make it work here and we can do it better than anyone else in the state?
It's tough, but I think you look for kids that are tough, tough and love the sport. Can they train? Do they train hard? Like, do they train hard at a high level, like in terms of how gritty they are? Are you willing to put time in? Like, are you willing to put, 2 practices a day in? Are you willing to make sacrifices that maybe the ordinary person wouldn't be willing to make? Because that's really what it's going to take, and I've always tried to find guys on the front end before they pop, before they really hit that next level. And it's hard to really kind of know for sure. And sometimes you're taking chances on that, but when you hit, and then you got to hold on to them.
I think that's a great point, because what I was going to say to you, right, like just from a recruiting standpoint, is if the kid's great from a freshman, sophomore, junior year, he's probably not a guy for SIUE he's getting looked at by Big Ten schools, right? It's a little different. So that was, basically, okay, at what point do you say a kid, like if he has success as a junior or senior, we're on that kid, right? Or like you said, we look for guys that have all the capabilities, the talent, the athleticism, and that's the guy we're going to take a shot on. That's a great point, Daryl. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's a hard thing to try to be 100% on, but when they go that, like for example, I can say this now. Will Denny is a good example. Like he took fourth. I think he took fourth at the state tournament.
Just 2 years ago, he lost to
his sophomore year,
Alvarado.
Right?
Yeah, sophomore year. I coached Will Denny when he was 6 years old till he was 10. He won his first 2 Eagles when he wrestled for us at Celtic Elite.
Mm-hmm. So he takes fourth at the state tournament as a sophomore, right? And he's able to be called on June 15th. So I call him immediately. I'm like, okay, maybe he'll float under the radar for a little bit, but he's tough. He's gonna be good. He took fourth, and I said, all right, I'm gonna come up and do a home visit with you August 1st, first day we can. Go up, do a home visit with him and his family. Great home visit early. This kid just took fourth in the state tournament. Like, he on paper hasn't really done much yet. And that spring we have a visit set up, I think in October, and he's going to NC State the week before, and then he's going to come visit us for an unofficial visit. And didn't end up making it to us, committed to NC State. But he just had a crazy fall. That fall, he went and won I think he won the Hoosier Open, maybe like the grappler. And then after that, he committed really early and then win Super 32 and all that other stuff afterwards. But just a good example of like trying to find guys before they really pop all the way through and jump on them hard and show them the type of love that, they would be getting once he's at the end of his career, winning Super 32 and stuff like that. So,
yeah. Yeah, well, maybe you should have set up a little workout. Make sure he knew that that Coach Thomas could still.
Yeah, that must have been the missing piece.
Yeah, well, that's one of the bad things because is it?
That's why I stopped coaching Will when he was 10 years old. That's when he started beating me out. Was done. Like, that's it. No more.
Yeah.
Shout out Will Denny and Tommy Gann.
Yeah. Yeah. Very tough kids. But again, I do think that there's that's a I don't know how the next decade is going to look, but I do think that is a huge opportunity because right there, I think you're only competing against the dollar signs, right? Like I think there's you mentioned that SIUE was really doing a lot when it comes to the media, the marketing side, giving people a platform to kind of, showcase their talent, right? I think that's what what does a Big Ten school versus a Mac-10 have? It's like the Big Ten has that opportunity to showcase their skills to a large audience. But with social media, if a small market brand does a good job, they can get their voice to be heard, and with success, it can be even louder. So.
That's one thing that Scotty Sentez, I give him a lot of credit for. He does a really good job with the media and marketing piece. He does a phenomenal job with that. And it's obviously shown and done a great job for Campbell.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know what the one thing is, whether it's an athlete that can help do it or a season or a competition. But the media world can make things change really quickly. So, I wish a lot of luck to you guys with that because – I do think that there's enough to go around in the state of Illinois, and proximity is always something that I found interesting. Is like we should probably stay. I mean, again, there is something to be said to go across the country and get away from home or something, but I do think proximity is helpful for a lot of people, and having programs in the state that have people from the state that are really successful and really capable of taking it to the next level is good. So. I hope that a lot more people consider SIUE with you and the team there. But yeah, Brian, you got anything else? Otherwise, we'll let Coach Thomas go.
I mean, DT, this has been great, man. This is awesome. Give you guys a platform, give someone, as yourself that has dedicated his life to the sport of wrestling, a voice here on the Illinois Wrestler podcast. We're definitely blessed to have you. Kids, when you turn into the podcast, I mean, definitely take a look at SIUE. They're on the map. They're doing things right, and they're looking for tough kids. We gave you a platform to say, hey, these are the kids we want. We want tough kids. We want guys who are going to pop early. Give us a call. So DT, keep doing great things, man. You're blessed, and you bless the state of Illinois, and we're so glad you're back home where you need to be.
No, it's awesome to be back home, and I appreciate you guys giving me this opportunity to come on and chat with you. And it's been a great conversation, and hopefully get more of our elite kids, taking a look this way, and they have for sure. And now we just gotta win a few more of them.